definitely threatening to get into the 125 area. It does look like we're starting up. We're gonna scroll through this text about I don't even know what I'm gonna say today. They're going to they're singing in the rain. It's raining and they're all singing in the rain. But anyway, definitely Void's gonna have a great chance today, and we're just gonna have to see which of these runners delivers. Hopefully both of them do, and I think we could have a very close race all the way to Ganon today.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, like any good singing in the rain musical, our goal is to make it daytime. So currently we are going through the escape and buying time in order for it to turn to day. Not too much going on, just lots of little simple movement here. I'm sure everyone's fairly familiar with pumping, memes and whatnot aside, but really just lots of clean movement is necessary here. Obviously the mark of a good runner is a sub-6 escape, and then every little second after that can really show, even just a little nuance of what a player knows about movement, like anti-frame or anti-pumps, moving through transitions and whatnot. But clean movement, not nudging, reading the situation. It's not a lot of time in the beginning, but it definitely shows experience and knowledge of the game going forward.
Yeah, certainly an escape. Not a split that many people practice, because obviously you need to do it every run. But in escape, you see a lot of kind of the beginnings of just good Zelda play. You see in that door, trying not to nudge too much on these doorways. You see a lot of pumping. You see avoiding stair lag. A lot of these little specific room strats, like that one with the blue guard. So just a lot of basic movement here, and there's also quite a bit of RNG on the enemies. We're going to see our first RNG with a couple of green guards coming up here over the next 45 seconds or so.
Yeah, kind of the beautiful thing about this game too is that while there are, various optimal strategies for how you should go about, the way a player moves can also be unique to themselves, and I think that's a lot of fun watching. Like even just that blue guard, the way you charge your sword and move through, so really interesting. Void having a little issues with his key here.
Yeah, definitely gonna say that Void, who knows? I don't know. I like to talk about the psychology. It could be right, it could be wrong. Definitely think Void is feeling the heat, and feels he needs to save every second in this race. Gets the bad green guard RNG there as well. Has to kill that guard. It is faster to kill that guard than to boomerang it because it saves time with lag. And we're already thinking about all these things in escape. Void does end up with a 258 big key, which is not bad, but also not really good. And TGH is going to be feeling good about his play so far. Void is going to be feeling a little bit more ambivalent, to say the least.
Yeah, the good thing is that sometimes runners just start a little bit nervous, but then they kind of level out. And of course, escape, there is a lot going on, but lots of time to adapt and come back and sell yourself. Yeah, minor lead for TGH here, seems to be composing himself fairly well.
Yeah, really a pretty much good RNG and good play from TGH so far. You see that he's basically a whole room ahead at this point, and he's going to just be feeling very good about the beginning. Void knows he's going to have to do something to catch up, but there's a lot of opportunities to catch up as well. You did see Void with the worst green guard RNG in that room, had to walk around them, whereas TGH could just hug the right wall, and that is slower because walking diagonally is only faster if you have to go diagonally. If you don't have to go diagonally, it's going to be slower to walk diagonally back and forth because it ends up moving you 1 pixel in the desired direction rather than alternating 1 and 2.
Yeah, you get a net movement of 2 pixels, but of course that only applies if you're actually using those into the same direction. But, speaking of opportunity, these wraps and ropes, a little different RNG, TGH having to boomerang that rat. Void too, and unfortunately getting clipped there, but just little things like that really do add up after a while. And of course, the mark of a strong player is knowing those patterns and know how to deal with everything on the fly.
And it's a sign of how good these players are, of course, that these are the little things that we're talking about, because these are the little things that distinguish them. They're the things that you notice when you're watching a player of this caliber. But of course, we should mention both of these runners still easily on pace for a sub-6 escape, still hitting what we would think of as, you know, the benchmark for a good runner. But between the two of them, you know, it's a different situation when you're trying to win a race versus when you're just trying to kind of keep it together on a run of your own. And they're going to continue just looking for every advantage. We're going to see TGH with, I think, about a 550 here, which is really, once you get to about a 550, it's really getting into very high caliber territory. And Void with a 555. A 555 is still very respectable. At a 126 runner, you can definitely be getting a PB with a 555 escape. But TGH definitely bringing his A game. We're gonna have to see how, as we get into this light world and get into some more hectic parts, like our boots movements and our landmolas and our moldorm and everything. We're going to have to see how Void deals with this and what kinds of strategies he chooses to use.
Yeah, in spite of all those little things for Void, only 5 seconds behind. He's still only 5 seconds, but it certainly could have been more, so he definitely kept it pretty together, and 555 being very respectable. But yeah, now daytime, so no longer singing in the rain, we're singing in the sunshine, heading to Eastern. And we got this Octrock overworld, and TGH gets some nice RNG here. And for Void too. Yeah, Eastern, it's a pretty fun dungeon, but I don't know, it's a little bit mixed feeling. It's like a combination of fun and arduous. And it can be surprisingly risky for the very first dungeon.
Yeah, certainly you have to lose guaranteed a heart and a half here, and a few more hits can take you into very dangerous territory. It's also, we're still pre-Pegasus boots. I don't think anybody who's watching at this stage of the tournament will be spoiled to learn that we get the Pegasus boots after Eastern Palace. And so that makes the movement just a little different. If you're pumping like crazy, pumping is besides hovering, is probably the most hand-intensive thing you do in this game. Despite the fact that it only saves, you know, a frame at a time, it actually is, as you say, very arduous. So yeah, Eastern can be very exhausting, and for all these reasons, you know, resetting over and over again in this game is not great. And recently, runners have definitely started to prefer just going all the way through on their runs. Obviously, both runners will be doing that today because it's the race.
Yeah, PB is very different from a race attempt, and I guess kind of dialing back to, you know, talking about the mark of a runner and different little things. Void was down to heart. Now, he could have lifted the heart pot to grab the heart under, well, the pot to press the switch, but instead was trying to gamble that he could potentially get, well, I believe he was trying to gamble the heart pot in the skeleton room with the magic drop, which would save a little bit of time at the very end. They actually got the magic drop in the same spot regarding the skeletons, but Void, of course, going for the extra heart, was not able to combo the two.
Yeah, interesting that neither of them went for that magic. It does only save a frame, so maybe not that interesting. Void, I guess, boomeranged that heart instead of picking up the heart pot in the prior room. It is slower to boomerang that heart, but it is faster if you get the magic with it, so... you know, just a little choice. There's so many little choices in this game of how people make these decisions. For example, TGH going right there. There was really a skeleton on each side, so it ended up not mattering. Void getting slightly better RNG in that room, but TGH very happily getting that red rupee, and Void only getting a blue. So a slight difference in rupee count so far.
Yeah, Void can still get the red rupee, because I think that's the third rupee of the prize pack. But yeah, for TGH, he's basically covered for rupees at this point. No, it's a very fortunate drop there. And stuff like that, you know, being aware of your prize pack count, just all the little things, even like the bush prize. Again, just the little things. You know, you look at the game and you can see at all different levels, you see every rune differently. And Void getting the red.
Get his money. We'll see. The armor says, "Oh, missing that arrow drop. Very unfortunate."
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Now we did see Void doing something very interesting in that Zelda gamer room, and he messes up his Armos.
Yeah, I definitely think he's feeling the pressure, which is understandable. I know during my runs, I was like a heart out my chest, and it wasn't until halfway in the run that my own body kind of shut down and it smoothed out. But hopefully for Void, these are only, you know, the introductory kind of errors, and from here on out, you know, it becomes a lot more solid. Light World is still kind of introduction to the game, in a sense. So lots of game left, but yeah, it's you know, it's still worrisome.
Yeah, I think he's about 12 seconds behind now. He did end up with still a 10:48, and I would say at Void's level, you don't always expect to be getting a sub 10:40. So maybe he's probably thinking to himself, well, it's still a 10:4x. I'm not, you know, he's not hating himself right now, but he is thinking, you know, the nerves, when you mess one thing up, you start thinking, well, I better get the next thing right. So maybe he'll have some nerves about the spin speeds here. Maybe he'll have some nerves about Land Molus or about the fake flippers after. And the more you overthink yourself on this game, the worse you do. It's really best to put everything in your muscle memory. Your hands are smarter than your brain. They'll do the work for you, but you need to not overthink it.
It's really true to life in general, just not overthinking. The more you want something, suddenly the harder it is to attain. Yeah, if you get too goal-orientated, you kind of lose the experience, the journey along the way in a sense. But TGH getting a very nice spin speed there.
Yeah, good spin speeds and good movement from TGH so far. We're seeing Void doing a slightly different strat where he continues holding his sword to do this spin speed. That's the one that I prefer. It just seems cleaner, but I don't think they test out to have particularly different speeds. And you do see TGH doing the final one to get out of that library. Ends up 3 for 3 on his spin speeds, and that means that it's shaping up to be a pretty nice overworld here for TGH, and for Void as well.
Yeah, like when everything's said and done, Void really isn't that far behind, right? It's just the little things you really begin to notice. But yeah, no, for that spin speed, like, because you dash into a transition, you already have the sword out, but then you walk with the sword a little bit longer, so it's kind of like a little bit of a trade in that regard. And,
yeah.
Something I really, sorry, just real quick. Something I find really interesting is how people choose to use their item buffers. So, obviously, you have to menu to certain items. So you want to use it at a time that's really appropriate to facilitate for an easier trick, potentially. And so sometimes runners will do one that's more personal to them, because there is a little bit of leeway. And then there are, you know, some of the more optimal ones to do too. So, like Void switching to the book near the end right there.
Yeah, in the overworlds, usually Void getting a little extra time on that prayer sequence. On the overworlds, normally people are thinking to themselves, well, I need to pick whatever dash it is that I'm most worried about getting wrong. I'll make my item switch during that dash, and I'll just visually judge whether I'm on the right pixel to switch directions.
Yeah, oftentimes it's a comfort thing, and sometimes it's the buffer thing, but just as little things. You said it before, but it's kind of like you're painting a canvas, you know, writing your own story with every run you do. So pretty interesting. And then to see two different people approach the same game, but approach it very differently. Just the little differences. And we hear the song of Void's people with the book there.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Void now. I mean, hopefully TGH did it as well, but I have to appreciate the book spam. Seeing some good RNG on those cannonballs. You know, as you said, Void it's not such a big gap right now. Void's not doing that badly. He's got his 30 rupees. You know, he'll maybe pick up an extra arrow pack here, but maybe won't even need to. But the main thing is, we already knew from the PBs Void had to make up a bit of ground. He really needed to show us his best play. This gap could be closed with 2 extra blue balls, for example, for TGH. But then Void is going to have to keep it closed in Dark World. So the main thing is not worrying about the gap so far. It's more worrying about making sure that we're going to see a focused run from both of these players for the remainder.
Yeah, even Lamola here can be very chaotic, one of the harder bosses in the game. You know, even just a cycle or two Lamola, you obviously anticipate that a good player will average about 3, like, you know, two to 4 kind of Lamola cycles, barring the worst. But, you know, especially in a race where it's not, you know, a PB attempt, you just might kind of get caught having extra cycles than maybe you're normally used to. It's a very chaotic run, and consistency, stability is a big thing, kind of like what you're saying. Just holding that same narrative. They can even up in time, but are they able to hold it the entire time?
Yeah, and Len Moles is definitely one of those things where, you know, the difference between a player who expects to get 3 every time and a player who figures they'll get 4 or 5, like me, can be an enormous difference. We do see Void getting those extra arrows, and let's watch this Len Moles.
Yeah, I do like that decision. Yeah,
so, missing an arrow.
Oh, but getting a nice pattern there.
Yeah, nice second cycle there. It does look like he'll be able to clean it up in 3, maybe, or no.
Yeah, this is 4 so far. So it's 4 for TGH, I believe.
And this is the second one for Void here.
So like right there, I believe that was 3. So 3 cycle, 4 cycle. Still not even, but caught up.
Very good recovery from Void at the end there, and ends up with just a 1702, which really is quite a good landmo time. And I think he's thinking to himself, okay, TGH missed that spin speed. He had a bad landmo. I had a good landmo. You know, I'm hot on his heels. So Void, I think, mentally, after that landmo, is feeling, I've righted the ship. I'm in the right headspace. And as that's exactly where he needs to be, as we're moving on to Hera and then into Aghanim's Tower in the Dark World. You really need to start off well in this harder part of the game.
Yeah, something worth noting is that Void had 14 arrows to TGH's 8. Those extra arrows are really huge. Obviously, arrow routing important. And then TGH getting the unfortunate double Buzz Bob RNG. I think Void only got the 1 bad RNG, but accidentally hit it. So kind of evened up a little bit there, but still very close here. And yeah, I do like that he's showing good composure.
Let's just note, TGH went into that Landmo fight with 29 arrows to Void's 27. So that means that's a bad map. Okay, that's not, you know. But in terms of the arrows, TGH used 21 arrows in that Landmo fight, and Void used 13. That is a big difference. We did see Void using some slashes. And I'm not always a big fan of slashes, but Void appears to know how to use them at exactly the right time to take down those half hits. And TGH now, fewer rupees, fewer arrows, hasn't mapped, so he does have that advantage. But yeah, TGH now the one who will have to kind of compose himself after. I mean, there's nothing like missing an arrow on Lenmo. It is so frustrating because you need to wait for the arrow to hit the wall to shoot the next one. And he's just going to be very frustrated after that fight. And we did see TGH in a race earlier miss the Hera bomb jump, so we'll see what both of these players decide to do. There are some choices of approaches on that bomb jump and on Moldorm, so we'll just see what choices both of these players make.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting because obviously little things can get to a player. You know, a mark of a good player is to put a lot of stuff in the past, but even just little things like the way TGH entered that portal, he did not get the quick warp, but he did the entry that is for later in the run where he, you know, just to facilitate the quick warp. So he didn't get the quick warp there, so he might be a little bit flustered. It's hard to say, and obviously don't want to over-assume for a player either, running the risk of judging their own headspace. But just little things like that, you never know.
I will say, TGH is a player who generally keeps his composure. This is something I've noticed through a lot of the
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously he's a very strong player. Just maybe a thing where you kind of get a little bit complacent in that or trying to refocus. You never know. But looked like Void went for the boom dash and got it, except he canceled a little bit late. So he got the important part where he's on the other side of the pegs, but unfortunately, no low break for him.
We did see an interesting item switch there on the right side of our screen with TGH switching to the lantern to judge that dash, just judging whether that dash is right in the middle of the room. And that is one way to use that switch. We saw him having some problems lighting the torches, lost a second with an early menu, after maybe losing another second from not having lit the torches yet. But we still do see pretty significant advantage from TGH as he goes in to this bomb jump room.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that, of course, each player having their mistakes. So, just showing a comparable level here. Obviously, Void trailing a little bit behind, but I still think it's going to be a very close race the whole way through.
TGH doing that kind of rando bomb jump with no bonk, but using the edge and the swing to position himself in the right place. Void doing the same. This is getting very popular.
Yeah,
it seems very risky to me, but I think the top players are having no problem.
Yeah,
TGH did fall in a previous race doing it. We also saw Void missing one other arrow drop. I do love it when they get those arrow drops, but because he did the book spam earlier, I will still root for him despite missing that arrow drop.
Yeah, the big thing is that there's many ways to do something, but what's comfortable and consistent is what you really want to go for. So that bomb jump setup, I really do like. I think it's a good compromise between safety and speed. But of course, if you fail it, then it defeats the point. But both getting through really well. TJ's having a little trouble with some of the RNG there, the Kandanga fire, little things, but.
Both having good roll arms, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think TJH just kind of missed a little bit of the fight there, and it didn't quite catch Void, but otherwise really good. I mean, not falling and attacking relatively quickly is the big thing there.
Void had a little bit of trouble right at the end there, and we've got about a 15-second difference at this point, but certainly both players playing solidly. No major complaints. I guess the map from Void and the menu from TGH. But all in all, pretty happy with both of these guys, how they're playing. We are coming up, obviously, on some of the biggest RNG in the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, TGH not trusting the Buzz Blob there. He, of course, can be a little bit of a jerk. This is kind of where I like to do the menu, because you can kind of read the RNG a little bit, but yeah, trying to make sure that we can manipulate the prize pack in order to facilitate the 4 red rupee drops. Both players incredibly healthy in terms of rupee count, so that is definitely good. And here we get the Sword of Evil's Bane. And coming up on one of my favorite parts of the run very soon will be Aga Tower. It's really poetic to me because you start the game with nothing, and it's very atmospheric. And of course, you hear the rush of the Hyrule Castle music, which I'm sure a lot of people are tired of by now, but I never get tired of it. It always feels epic to me. But now you're coming back, and you're ready to kick Aga's butt. And then, surprise, he has a lot of RNG for you at the end. But no, just a very executional gauntlet coming up here in Aga Tower. Very dynamic, because both your heart count and your arrow count play directly into the strategies you use in almost every room. So it's again, just a very personally fun one, challenging and interesting to watch.
Yeah, for the modern strats, we do think probably even TGH's 7 arrows will be enough for pretty much everything he wants to do. We do see Void able to skip one of these red rupees with that enormous rupee count. Even with missing that arrow pack, still 5 ahead. I mean 6 ahead. Could have had 18 here. That's why I like to get those arrow packs, but not everybody is, mate.
It's a lot to keep track of. Just a lot of the little nuance, but yeah, it, like even stuff like dashing through extra bushes, entering the dark world to try and get like the skull early, so it doesn't happen in a bad place. Like, so many little things, and yeah, I don't know. It's the beauty of the run.
I've literally never even thought about getting that skull early, so there are a lot of little things. That's beyond even me, and I try to keep track of the little things here. We do see TGH getting those Pooey Knights really well, and now doing the prize pack manipulation perfectly. Great second floor, or whatever you call this here. Let's see how Void does.
Saving a little bit of arrows. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Void will have way more than enough arrows for the Palace of Darkness, whereas TGH will have maybe exactly the right number.
Yeah, TGH is used to playing under tense situations. You know, obviously world, you know, both like world record, you know, type runners. But so I'm sure he's not uncomfortable, but it's certainly not advantageous.
Yeah, it's hard to know which runner's world record is more applicable. TGH has world records in Link's Awakening, which is so similar to this game. But on the other hand, Void has world records in other Super Nintendo games, so it's the same console. So obviously both, you know, very talented at games like this. We did see TGH having some trouble, maybe forgetting he had beams in this room. Now you will see how Void does it. Well, Void used the beam strat without beams, so kind of if each one had done the other one's strat, it would have made a bit more sense, that room.
Yeah, unfortunately, TGH went for the key dash there, but for that type of setup, you have to delay when you start up your dash because the archer can shoot his arrow a little bit late. So he used the wall to line up for the key dash, and so that was good. But because the dash was too soon, he actually dashed into the arrow and took a hit, so he did not have full health for that room.
You saw Void losing a few hearts in that room right before Circle of Pots.
Yeah, both getting a little bit beat up in the tower, but they made it through the meat of it. And so now we have our favorite glorified cutscene.
Yeah, and we had a 27-32 zap for TGH. That's well ahead of the best zap I've ever gotten. So, props to him. And Void, about as well as I've ever done. So we've got a 17-second difference between the two of them here. That could be 2 blue balls difference if it's at the right blue balls. So we'll see how these guys do on their RNG. Already bad for TGH.
Yeah, unfortunately not too much you can do in this case. There are some like varying theories to try and speed up the fight in terms of moving and manipulating him, but generally speaking, most runners try to get Aga closer to the center so that he doesn't warp as far. Some of the few things you can really do.
Yeah, you really want to knock him towards the center if there's a good place to do so. Void had 4 for 4, TGH had 2 for 4 of the first 4. I believe TGH could still get 2 blue balls. Let's see. No.
Wow.
4 already for TGH. Meanwhile, 0 for Void. Well, so this is what we said. So this is going to be very exciting because now it's TGH. Obviously, TGH is going to be the one who is saying, I need to do something in this dark world. I need to play my best. Getting that, well, I believe that was 4 blue balls. He's angry. You can see him, the frustration dust. And TGH now is thinking, you know, why am I playing this game with all this RNG? He's gone from being up 17 seconds to down about 15 here. And we will just see Void is now in a completely different position. He was down 15 seconds, almost already out of Eastern, and has now completely flipped the script. Not doing anything too special, but getting that 0 blue balls. We will have to see how both of these players deal with this situation. TGH is 4, not even such a bad number, but you cannot beat that 0, obviously.
Yeah, with one of the biggest RNG portions out of the game, entering Dark World, we got our race, ladies and gentlemen. is all about very strong play from here. Obviously, it was always important, but now that that section's out of the way, it'll be really interesting to see how the two stack up to each other. Oh, Void getting a little bit of bad RNG there, so preemptively taking out the Moblin. It can be really scary to have a Kiki and not have enough, you know, rupees to get him again and get hit, and everything goes to pieces. But TGH actually having the same RNG and gets through, I think, a little bit quicker.
The Spectral Joker in chat says about 30-second swing. Exactly. That is, you've got your 4 blue balls plus 1 lightning. You estimate about 6 per. So yeah.
Yeah, and even though the blue ball RNG could get in the way, of course, add some arbitrary time loss. Important thing is just put out your mind, pretend it didn't happen, continue on. It can be very frustrating, but there's still a lot of time to be gained and lost within a run. So, you know, it's substantial, but you really just can't let it get to you.
Void does take that 1 heart of damage on the way down after that bomb. He will take about half a second to pick up another pot later on, but not really worrisome.
Yeah, it's really kind of them to place all the heart refills at the end, so can refill up to 3 hearts. So, you know, a little bit of grace for error. Obviously, you don't want to take too much because you do take an intended 1 heart of damage, but Void can certainly spare the 1, but if anything else happens, it is no bueno. Of course, here we have our... Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're the one who knows about this hammer jump. I'm not good at it.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but, you know, of course, the aforementioned hammer jump, or hammer jump, you need 2 Y-specific coordinates. 1 to place the bomb, and then 1 to position Link. And, of course, just to make it a little bit quicker, throw an extra bomb in order to blow up the wall there, and then try not to nudge it. Go in it cardinally, because you will get a little bit of slowdown. But basically trying to facilitate that the bomb will explode Link cleanly across the horizontal x-axis, and then you can just go straight up above the rail.
Now we have to say, Void had quite a few buffers there. TGH not perfect, but definitely quicker. Is saving a bit of time there. Void also with an extra menu. So this Palace of Darkness, TGH definitely making up some time here. Obviously the viewers don't need me to tell them that they are now in literally the same room. So there's a lot of RNG on the Helmasaur King fight, and we could potentially see either the gap widening back for Void or TGH making up more time there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, contemplating life, holding the wall because there's currently an earthquake, so make sure you are stable, but little things like that, yeah, TGH is definitely made up in this dungeon. Of course, with the hammer jump and with Helmasaur here, it's actually, you know, these are some of the harder parts of the run, but yeah, little things, little things. And here we have our Terrapin room. And that is very nice for Void.
Terrapin, I have some University of Maryland people in my family and social circle, so they'll be happy to hear. That's the mascot of the University of Maryland. Both had great turtle rooms there, Terrapin rooms. And we do see Void with a 34-2x entrance into Helmasaur King. He could potentially get a 34 crystal catch. We do see him taking his 17 hits to the face. TGH with the sword not held out is going to have a slightly faster fight, but is also getting worse RNG.
Yeah. It's a little bit close for Void here. Just goes for slashes. It looked like TGH almost got the key dash into the door. He might have been 1 pixel off. I don't know if he's comfortable about going for that key dash, but he has to be really careful here. Yeah, just gonna go for slashes. So he definitely made up a lot of time. Of course, because he cancelled his dash entering the room, he didn't have his sword out entering. So just going for the walk strat made a lot of sense. One of those little kind of time savers, but Void going for the safer fight, both making it through with the same hard count. So
yeah, both with those slightly scary fights. They got hit a few times and just went in for sword slashes at the end, both of them. Very similar fights in a way. We'll have to see what the time difference is at sword up. You know, just a lot of similarities at this point. Arrow count almost identical, 7 bombs for each of them, 2 versus 3 rupees, 4 hearts for each of them. We're seeing a very close race here. The main difference, obviously, that 0 versus 4 blue balls, that causes a difference of 30 seconds at least. So we're seeing Void making his way, and it's a 10-second difference right now, as we see both of these players make their way over to gather up the shovel and then the flute, and then go into the Dark Kakariko Warp, and then make their way down to Thieves Town, where they will encounter a lovely maiden and gain some strength.
yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, so both runners will have a little bit of a reprieve. Thieves Town, with the exception of a few rooms, it's pretty straightforward. So just a little bit of overworld, a little bit of item gathering. Lots of little spots you can gain and lose time, but it definitely won't have the same tenseness in terms of having to make sure you achieve some of the harder things. But yeah, Void having a little... Yeah,
this overworld has been just a little weird for Void. He got hit on that bridge while trying to do that hammer dash, and then was dashing at the wrong place and had to walk around that tree, and then was not able to dash through those bushes. So 37-16 flute for Void. We'll see what TGH does. The gap is down to 6 seconds now. So we are...
Yeah, they both got their pixel boost from Stem Kid and both got the quick warp, so that was really good. But yeah, it just seemed a little bit weird for Void. Maybe something happened to him personally that was a little bit distracting, but hopefully he's able to, collect himself here.
I think he's just feeling the heat, He's also been playing a lot today to prepare for this. I personally, I'm not anybody's coach or trainer, but I don't always feel that playing a lot on the same day is what you want to be doing before a big race. I think sometimes you want to play the day before or the day before that, but the day of, I often think, you want to be kind of chilling out, you want to be kind of relaxing and coming to it fresh. We will see these two players doing different strats on this main Kakariko screen, with TGH doing this, maybe it's 5 frames faster, 10 frames faster, super speed. You would know the details on that. TGH not dashing in front of that guard and killing it with a hammer instead. That's also interesting. All these little choices that are just more comfortable, slightly slower or slightly faster, but there's a lot of leeway to personalize your run in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just the way they entered that warp there, Void did not get the quick warp, but TGH did, and of course Void trying to walk at some diagonals, and TGH just going for the straight cardinal. So just kind of interesting. You'd almost think that would be more difficult, but again, whatever the race is comfortable with, and they can do consistently. And of course, just the visual cue, recognizing that he would get the quick warp, and so he would only have to move cardinal. Yeah, Thieves Town is a pretty, I'd almost say mellow dungeon. There are a few rooms that you really have to watch out for, but it's kind of similar to Desert, with the exception of the Lamola.
It's really the Desert of Dark World.
Yeah, I kind of feel similar to Mire too, but it's all the dashing and whatnot. And you have these few rooms that it's kind of if you were to take Lamola and spread out Lamola or whichever, it might equate to these rooms.
Yeah, the main difference between Desert and Thieves, of course, is having that incredibly hectic Landmolas fight versus our scripted boss fight in this dungeon. Now, some very difficult RNG for Void and for TGH in the Hellway, but TGH getting through it quicker, and the difference is so small now.
Yeah, almost. I know in the one Gibbo room there that TGH got a worse RNG, but in the Hellway he got a better one. So it really evened that up, and you can see these racers are, not even a room apart now.
Both of them taking damage in different ways, but neither really at a place where we would be worried about them, given that aforementioned scripted boss fight. They are going down these stairs at exactly the same time. I believe they are within a second of each other at this point.
Ooh, and Void got the good Gibbo RNG. TGH got the tricky one. All the RNGs I think are inconsequential, except for that one diagonal one. And TGH just opting to not bother dashing, just gonna walk around. Because if you do miss time, then of course you're getting hit. So just decides to walk it off.
Both of them skipping this bomb, obviously with the new Maya spooky action. I believe both of them will be going for it, and they each need just even one fewer bomb that's already a safety bomb to get.
Yeah, and like Void walking here, obviously avoiding bonking the prison, but just the little things. But yeah, we do need one less bomb now, although I still think having the extra bomb as a backup is certainly not a bad thing. And of course now you don't have to dump the bomb in order to switch over to the fire rod to hit the switch. So it almost seems like it'd be good, because then of course you don't have to worry about Turok or whichever, but yeah, I do like the dynamicism that got added.
Very interesting, some of the rooms where these guys are both having the same RNG. We did see Void doing a little bit better in that switch room. They're starting their fights at the same time. I don't even know. I can't control myself. This is so close. And I can barely watch them both doing the same thing at the same time. And on this fight, obviously, we're going to be hoping that they both do it in the same exact way. Through the second phase, it looks like they have.
Yeah, and you can tell who had the better fight based on where Blind ended up. So while they both had the identical first two cycles, Void just a little bit behind. Now, of course, we're talking fractions, but
yeah, we're talking
very,
like
very
3 to 5 frames behind, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, if you get the first two cycles, I think you're pretty well good for the fight. Of course, health, they were pretty healthy, but normally, like for me, I like to go in with at least 3 hearts, being an odd number because the head will do 2 damage and the fireball will do 1. So even if things do, go low chaotic for whichever reason, you have to sneeze or something, you can still bounce back pretty good having that 1 buffer. But they were pretty healthy and got through really well. And they kind of even little things like in the prison, Void walked or TDH dashed. But then, right before Blind, Void did the double dash, and TGH walked then dash. It's kind of like little trade-offs that are neat. There should be a note that menuing is obviously really important in the game. A lot of time is gamed and lost in menuing alone. And there's a lot of menuing that you do too. So I think it's like an underappreciated art, but even just like menu routing, well, maybe a little bit more minor. Overall, it's nice to do it really quick and cleanly. Pretty interesting to think about. I think right there, Void just going straight left. I missed what TGH did though. But of course, here we got our Tempered Sword, which is really nice. You can talk to these blacksmiths a little bit early on the ground and Void turning mid-conversation TGH2. You can just text mashing, it's really interesting too. Different menus have to be treated differently. The Kiki text, there's 3 different ways that you have to execute it. Yeah, having a nice little chat with Blacksmith here.
Yeah, this is often one of the more annoying portions of the game, just going through all these back and forth text boxes and warps. But both of them do get their tempered sword. Occasionally you see a good runner just not getting that tempered sword. We do see TGH getting the fence dash, Void not going for it. That matters to some people. Maybe you're one of those people.
I have mixed feelings, just because it is so minor. It's fun to go for, and because you're going in from the transition of the screen, it can be hard to know if you're going to get it. And then if you wait a little bit, you can obviously visually tell, but then you're sacrificing the time that it would have been beneficial regardless. So, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where if you feel like it, then you can go for it as a player. But, you know, like anything, if you're not confident, then you probably just shouldn't go for it. Err on the side of safety.
I'm still just going nuts watching them in such a consequential room, this mummy room, each at the same time. Void not getting good,
Oh, no.
not good. And it's now a lead change, just a small Void losing maybe 3 seconds there. Getting those those out of his way, and it's like a 45-56 war versus 45-59.
And they both went left too, which is pretty interesting. When you go left, I think you can add more lag to the room. There's some potential for it to be quicker, but like over the average, it doesn't really matter too much, to my understanding. So it was pretty interesting that they both went for the left there. But I mean, it's one of those things like fence dash where you just kind of want to leave your mark, or you know, want to kind of be unique in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't understand how intense practicing and thinking about this game can get, going left versus right in that room, Super Scrooge a few years ago wrote up a document about enemy patterns. This is without even thinking about the lag, which you were talking about. But just writing a document about enemy patterns in that room, wrote up something like a 5-paragraph essay about how to decide when to go left or right. You know, that stuff, this should be published in Science, you know, or, you know, in Scientific American. The research people do into this game. TJ's getting the bad Fire Snake RNG, Void getting the good Fire Snake RNG, and it's so close. I don't know. We are so lucky to be seeing this race with all the things that happen in this game. So close, same room, all the way through this dark world so far.
Again, just the idea that each run you paint a different scenario, and then we see two people together, it makes it really interesting, all the little trade-offs. I should point out that I actually have read that essay, and I did talk to Super Scudge regarding that rune, so it's kind of why I have a little bit more knowledge regarding that. Of course, shout out to him for all the hard work he's done, an insane amount of knowledge. And wow, Void had a slightly better moth there, and again, just top late, all the back and forth.
We just have to say both of them had amazing fights there. That was, I don't think either of them got the 3/, but I think that was 4/ fights for both of them. And just really good. And we're maybe a 2-second advantage for TGH. It's so close. These runs are so good. And I believe Void may be on PB pace. I don't remember exactly what his moth time was when I was looking at his stream earlier. But I think he got a 47 moth, and I think that's good enough for PB pace for him.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly a good pace run, and yeah, no, really strong fight there. Of course, that's the thing you like to see too. Moth can be pretty trolly. Even the worst RNG can be mitigated to a large degree. But easy fight, always welcome. I say easy, but easier fight, you know, when it's maybe a little bit simpler to control. And of course, the duck sets the variable, but that's maybe for a separate time here. But Void trying to let the duck kind of whisk him away off screen a little bit sooner, just a little frame saver. And TGH did not get a quick warp.
Yeah, we'll see if either of these runners. I don't know if you know about there's a 4-frame save in ice from the new glitch. Did you see if either of the runners was setting up for that, or does that setup not happen yet?
I don't think I heard Void use the flute, and of course we do not have TGH's audio, so it's hard to say. But do you want to go ahead and explain that while we're going through source to main here?
Yeah. So the new glitch, it's called the spooky action glitch. It uses, I mean, I don't even really know how to do it yet. I've been traveling through this entire time. It was eliminated from the tournament myself. My understanding is that you use the duck or dust or throwing something into a pit. There's various ways you can do it, but you affect a variable called the altitude variable. And this variable I believe you underflow the variable to 255 somehow. Or maybe you just set it to 255.
I think is the screen 255 lengthwise. I don't know how many pixels are on the screen or something in terms of...
That could be it.
Yeah.
I figured it was 2 to the 8th minus 1, so it was maybe just as high as the variable went.
Math is hard.
But so what you can do with that is that altitude variable is what sets the ricochet for the fire rod. And if you can ricochet something 255 pixels away, you can do things, what we call the spooky action, at a distance, right? You can do things in ways you shouldn't, especially because in Mire, you'll see this game is on a 4-room tile set. So there are often in dungeons, you think you're in a room, but really you're in 4 rooms at once, in a sense. So as long as you're in that same quad set of rooms, you can hit something elsewhere. You see both of them getting the same RNG with this little Zora. You can hit something in another quadrant of the room, and that will save us a screen transition in Mire. It can only save us just a tiny amount to hit this guy early here. We saw TGH didn't do it. We saw Void did.
Yeah, Void did do it.
Spooky action at not such a large distance there, but Void is winning over our hearts.
Yeah, it's there are different slots in the game, and yeah, the altitude variable. There are certain things that interact with it. I don't know all the details, but I do know that basically the altitude variable gets set in different slots, and you can change the slot that gets used. So if you kick up dust, you'll end up using slot 3. If you don't, that you're using slot 4. And so doing things that change, alter, or reset the variable will do that. And so they're trying to, of course, set the variable for the slot. So calling the duck, I think, resets the variable, which is why after Link's house there, you can call the flute, go off the screen. The duck will never come, and it'll set a certain value or kind of like reset it, I guess. And that affects the fire rod's AOE because it uses the same slot and that same value. So you're just manipulating the value to change the AOE of the fire rod itself. And that's sometimes why like, you'll be in Gown Tower in Gauntlet, say 5, and you try to shoot the fire rod, and sometimes the AOE will not hit the skeleton. Things like that. So
we do have to talk about Void taking just a little bit of damage here, whereas TGH making it through the beginning of this Ice Palace pretty cleanly. We are going to be worried about Void's health going forward, and the gap is widening just a little bit in these rooms, especially in that conveyor room. You saw Void get hit by a bunch of spikes there. TGH, on the other hand, with his 7 hearts, that will be 3 icicle damages, or 1 icicle and 1 puff on Cold Stare. He's in great shape. That fight is coming up very soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna see Void waiting there to make sure that he has 5 hearts, which means he can take a full hit from Cold Stare. Hopefully he doesn't, but just playing it a little bit safe, which does make a lot of sense. Lose a little bit of time, but you're just that little bit extra safe. Yeah, so I'll just see what different strats they do for Cold Stare here. There's a lot of little different setups you can do, but we'll see shortly.
I believe TGH does just 7 slashes, we'll see.
Looks like he does more of a manual time, just kind of...
Oh, getting lost. TGH getting lost. In not great shape here, but cleans it up. Void also getting lost. These Cold Stares, I'm very stressed right now.
Yeah. It's a lot of time lost. I'm sure that... well... Okay.
With that poke, very stressful. Both of these guys just could have been so easy. They had to stress me out on this Cold Stare. Everything was working really well for each of them. We will have to see Void with a 54-30 Cold Stare. We will have to see if his timer turns red. I believe he's probably still on pace to be near his PB. TGH, I'm not sure. Both of those Cold Stares, both of those players easily could have died. You saw both of them playing very safely not taking a single piece of puff damage. TGH took just that one icicle damage, and then they both played incredibly safely. Void charging their spins, trying to hit multiple puffs at the same time, and TGH just slashing over and over again whenever a puff was anywhere near him. Different strategies, but both designed to minimize the mistake once it happened. We are going full race strats, and we do see that Void is going to be about plus 8 seconds on his personal best at the moment. That means he is definitely in territory where he can still PB, but he lost way more than 8 seconds on that ice between the conveyor room and that cold stare. So he is not going to be feeling good, and TGH's lead has certainly expanded to about 15 seconds right now. And it's crazy that I'm saying that it has expanded to 15 seconds because that is still an insanely close race.
Yeah, definitely. The 2 pokes from Void, very scary. More so the second one, just because of how proximate the coldster puff was.
Yeah, you want to be able to spin. You can get multiple of them that way, and you can do more damage. But the danger is that if you hold your sword out, you're going to poke them, and the pokes don't hurt them enough to even talk about. It's barely damage.
It lowers it to Master Sword damage, which is not what we're looking for. But Swamp, another kind of reprieve, but in this case, it's really easy to kind of blink and lose a lot of time between all the little things here. They don't have to worry so much about their health, their dying, or anything too tricky. But it's just being consistent, not getting caught, and watching out for all the little patterns, all the little enemies, kind of the fodder they get in the way. But yeah, TGH definitely having a lead here. He'll want to maintain it.
Yeah, we did see Void taking just a tiny bit of damage. There's 2 hearts outside Swamp, but we do not expect that to matter. Or at least I do not. How about you?
No, certainly not.
Now, probably both of them will be picking up at least 1 arrow pack here. Would love to also see, either of them would love to see an arrow drop. You'd love to be able to get to about 20 going into Mire, or at least going into Vitreous.
Yeah, the more arrows, the better. Yeah, TGH preemptively taking out that water Tektite there. But the big thing about Mire is that you take intentional damage, and so it can be a little bit scary in that regard. It's kind of also like a scripted fight in a sense, but if something goes wrong, it can go very wrong. So even something like extra arrows can help compensate to make the fight not as slow as it would be. But barring the worst, those extra arrows could be invaluable safety. And then, of course, you will need them moving forward for the rest of the run. So trying to be conscientious of your count is always good. But yeah, long story short, the run, more arrows, the better.
We love arrows here. Arrows make us quiver. TJ's going for a beam strat there, not quite getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult because of the red Bari getting in the way and whatnot. He saw that the Bari was good, and so you can buffer the dash and go through, but then the skeleton got in the way, so it's, like a good strategy to go for if it works, but if it doesn't, unfortunately, just little things like that. It's really a narrative of their own, too. There are a lot of those strategies that, like, on paper they might be the best, in practice they may not be the best. So it's good that he recognized that, was aware of his full health, but then, of course, the skeleton getting in the way.
Yeah, there's all these little strats that's a strat that you almost never see. It's interesting that TGH does it. We did see him getting a 58 big key. He is on... This could be a 125 for either runner.
Yeah, and in the sociable firebar room there, TGH took a hit to that fireball, which isn't a big deal. Magic will be used on Argus, so you can beat down a few hearts and they'll basically fill at the same time. But yeah, again, just kind of little things. This is a very beautiful. The game is really poetic in how it's laid out, and just how you can set up everything according to the grid system. So using that stat shield lineup, go to the chest, hold diagonal, and you're perfectly set to hookshot this pot here, which is pixel perfect. Yeah,
that's a pretty recently found strat. Cypher found that strat. Cypher mostly known in this game for an incredible run that ended badly at AGDQ 2013. One of the first runs of this game that I ever saw. I was also inspired by the Ocarina of Time runner guy during that event, who was dressed like Link, our main character, and it was just adorable.
I've seen both runs.
We do see a gap of about 15 seconds at this point, I believe. TGH now getting those extra arrows, now up to 20. We will see if Void does the same.
Yeah, bomb count is good, but again, more arrows never hurt, so 20 for TGH there. And no, Void just going to skip them. 17 is still a pretty decent bit, so interesting decision, but considering how his arrow count and arrow use has been during the run, not necessarily the worst decision. And getting some nice Tektite RNG here, and TGH going for the 0 cycle.
And it looks like he got the hidden cycle. He's slashing in anger. We'll see Void also going for the 0 cycle. No, not getting it. Neither of them, both of them doing a great beginning, but neither of them quite getting it. Good Fire Rod strat from TGH. And just slightly faster with that hidden cycle, TGH versus Void. But great Fire Rods from both of them. Really, I mean, this is on a knife's edge, this run, and we were going into Mire after this, going into some very dangerous territory, and we will be seeing both of them attempting this spooky action glitch.
Yeah, about almost an hour or two into the run, still incredibly close. Both not getting the 0 cycle, but the nice thing about that boss is, the 0 cycle is definitely a harder strategy. The consequence isn't as bad, because it would just be like a normal strategy anyway. Obviously the time save is preferred, but if it does go bad, it's not like something where you lose a massive amount of time. It's basically you're defaulting to probably a more standard expected fight. It's definitely very difficult to get, but yeah, we have the spooky action, Mire Rod entanglement, a couple of different names for the trick, but yeah, it's a very exciting new trick. I think it's like the biggest time save, to my understanding, since like 2014, something like that, in terms of just raw time save for a single trick. Or I guess maybe rupee route change or that sort of idea.
Yeah, this is more than the rupee route change. This is the biggest time save since spin speed was found, I believe.
Okay. Unfortunately, TGH taking a hit here, so obviously want to go into Mire with full health because it'll save you a little bit of time. And Void also taking a hit. At least in this regard, they're even, but he's taking a few extra.
Void getting rocked.
Yeah, and some runners like to route this in a little bit earlier, just so they always have full health for Mire, because full health for Swamp is not as bad. Obviously taking hits is never preferred, but yeah, just getting hit here. So Mire 2 will be slower for both of them.
Void going for just one bush to see if it drops a fairy or a heart, and now you can see the bonks come in for Void. When he's stressed, the bonks come in. TGH, interestingly, not doing Ice Rod here. This is, I believe, a route divergence. So TGH will appear to be way ahead. We will not see until the entrance to T-Rock how they actually are comparing to each other.
Yeah, and to a keen-eyed viewer, TGH just picked up the rock from the bottom. For this current new Mire strategy with the entanglement, spooky action, you need to pick up the rock from the bottom, because as the duck sets the variable, you place them a little bit lower. It changes the variable there. So just a real minor thing, but he is got the first part of the glitch done here.
And a very nice Mire 2 from TGH. He does choose to take maybe half a second to pick up that heart. Good choice, IMO. We'll see if Void gets some good drops. I do remember, Gesellschaft, in a run of yours, you had a health situation where you then had a Mire 2 where you picked up 3 individual hearts. Is that correct?
Yeah, just the RNG in that run was ridiculous, but in the first stream there were actually 3 heart drops, which is pretty crazy.
I believe we saw the same thing for TGH just there. However, he only needed the 1. Hopefully Void can get the same thing, because he is the one who actually needs more of the help with the heart situation.
Yeah, normally you want to have at least 7 hearts going to Vitreous. You can't have here, you take intentional damage, so you know that's the big thing about this dungeon. It's pretty similar to Thieves Town, you know, some other things in how comfortable it is, but you know, definitely.
Look at this, we got the 3 hearts again.
Yeah, and of course, Void also, just real quick, grabbed the rock from the bottom, so he is setting up for the Myrod glitch too.
Both of them taking another heart of damage, but really 11 hearts, they each got Sank heart, so 11 hearts is not even really damage, you know, in a sense.
Yeah, 10 and a half.
Yeah, 10 and a half after that.
And TDH did miss the fireball here, so there are different ways to try and avoid it, and Void misses it too.
We will see. I guess we'll have to focus on TGH. Void is just going down to his cutscene. We will have to see TGH doing this new glitch. And hopefully you'll be able to explain about it. I do not, I do not do it. You'll be able to explain more about the mechanics of actually doing it as a player.
Yeah, so the flute and Samari and whatnot, they all kind of affect the same stuff. There are different slots in the game. So the variable has already been set by the deck. And so you're going to see TGH use the cane in the room with the switch coming up here. He's actually going to kick up dust and then place the cane. This will use slot 3 instead of slot 4. And then he'll switch the fire rod, and he'll not kick up dust while he uses the fire rod because it's using the variable that was set. And you'll see some spooky stuff take place here. Yeah, just kind of wait here, but yeah, you'll see him kick up the dust here. And his magic, he's going with the bare minimum amount of magic too. You need at least 3 fire rod shots, and then of course 1 for Samaria. Yeah, so you see him kick out the dust there. So far it looks good. If you do mess up, you pretty much have to go with an older strategy. You'll see him go into here. Oh, sorry. So he's going to hit the switch in this room. He missed Spike Trap, but he did hit a second time. You need to hit a Sprite. And so the switch has now been depressed. And so in here, it's down, and you can get 1 more shot. He'll hit the bubble Sprite, and that will hit the switch behind the wall there. And now he'll dash up. He does not have enough to hit that torch, which would hit this found switch, but easily enough. It's just an extra second or whichever to get that magic pot and go through here. You can see the Void going for this smaller magic pot. You can go for the larger magic pot, but that smaller one is definitely faster. Of course, the consequence of messing up is you will lose a little bit of time, but it's all about runner comfort and where you are coming from the torch room. Very nice video from TGH here.
Very good 4 spin strat, the 5 heart strat, I guess it was. Yeah, what I was going to ask you before was just about Void's magic level. He did get those small pots, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of got a little worried there because that was pixel perfect for him in regards to the Samaria block. If he tried to dash there, he would have knocked the block and you're in the glitch, but he did get the glitch, taking a little bit here. But yeah, he's good. And he has to walk to a certain Y variable there. That's why they kind of walk up there. But yeah, no, everything looking good. He does have enough magic for this last hit, so hopefully for the viewer's sake. And then he fires it the wrong way, unfortunately. But trying to hit that torch. You can hit some other stuff in the room, but we found that the torch is very consistent, so you'll pretty much see most or all runners aim for that. So, oh no.
Oh, no, we are really stressed about Void at this point. He had that firing the rod the wrong way. He's so stressed. He's down to 4 hearts. He's going to have to figure out what to do on this video. I think he was already thinking about his heart count when he missed that fire rod, and everything in this race now rides on this.
Yeah, he cannot take a hit. He cannot take a hit. So he'll use the extra arrow, I get to the wall. Okay, so he should be in the clear now, but just don't walk forward.
That was a great recovery. I have to say, I don't think he's on PB pace anymore. I think TGH has definitely solidified his advantage. Very stressful mire from Void. But really, that video was very heads up.
Yeah, it was having a little bit of issue there. Didn't use the invulnerability to dash through the bottom. The fire snake can still be unpredictable, but trying to go the long way around to circumvent potential damage, not trusting the invulnerability or the pattern, ends up running into the fire snake next time anyway. but he will have his cutscene here. Both have the Fire Rod, so TGH had to make that extra chip, but you can see that this is now all just pure advantage for TGH from a viewer perspective.
Yeah, and this is definitely what we said. This is what we said going into Dark World, right? We said, okay, Void has evened it up. He even got a little bit of an advantage, but now he needs to keep it. You know, it's not enough. You know, you can't trust that you're going to stay consistent with a runner like TGH through Dark World. And the difference between a 125 and a 126 runner, a lot of it is this consistency. We do see TGH getting squirreled there, having just some issues on this overworld for sure. Giving Void a little bit of a leash on life again. Void not having these problems in the Waffle House at least. What do you expect to see in this Turtle Rock?
Well, I guess first and foremost is paying attention to the Hokuboku dropping a fairy, because I don't think we saw a fairy earlier, so they should still be good for it in order to get that drop. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see. There's a lot of potential in this run. Things hurt very much. Turok not too bad, but of course between the laser skip and little things, it can just spiral out of control. And of course the infamous chomps coming up here. It will take intentional damage from this roller pin, and of course that's where the fairy drop would really come in handy. TGH just going through that Bari. If the platform is moving and you hit the Bari while electrified, you will fall. But if you hit it, you can potentially knock it away. And then of course, if the platform is stationary and you take a hit, then you'll just fall. So you can slash the Bari to get out of your way. But if electrifies, you'll instantly fall. And so that was just really very close to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Chomp's RNG is going to be the first thing that, you know, a death on Chomp's. We're obviously not hoping for it, but we are hoping that the race closes up a bit. And TGH taking a ton of damage already and taking a death warp.
Yeah,
he did get the key. So this is a lot of time. I mean, but not an enormous amount of time actually.
It's not too bad, but it's still not something you want to see. Yeah, it's you can do the roller pin rune too quickly, and it looked like he recognized that he was on a little bit of a slower rune there. Void's is a little bit quicker here. You can see a few more options, but yeah, he takes
Void taking extra damage too. Both of these guys, stressful rollers. We're gonna hope that both of them get their fairies soon, so that we can stop stressing. No fairy for TGH, and this is bad RNG. But he's gonna do this slow strat where he gets both at the same time. The Brahmin meat non-block blast, and he makes it through. Meanwhile,
Void does get his fairy. That's huge. Yeah, sorry, just oh man. But the chomp's getting in the way.
So both of them bad rollers, both of them bad chomps.
Oh no.
Void taking even more damage. Remember, TGH still has that fairy coming. We have to say, TGH, despite the death, that lost about 10 seconds, but with everything Void is going through, we have to say, TGH, despite the death, looking better for his advantage than when we came in.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of room left in this dungeon.
That's probably the most difficult Hokuboku RNG in that room. There are 4 different RNGs, but yeah, it's really surprising. Void just taking those hits, swinging things greatly, and of course he did get the fairy. So it'll be really interesting to see, because there are still more Hokubokus here, but yeah, just...
Everything here does so much damage. It's so easy for something to do 4 hearts of damage to Void and just kill him.
Yeah, definitely. He could advance the prize pack enough, but it would require a really good favorable RNG for Void here.
Yeah, I mean, it would require...
It did happen in my race,
from all of them.
You never know.
There's
TGH just getting his fairy there. Sorry.
Yeah, he didn't do a great job with those Hokubokus, but he did get the drops he wanted. Ended up not needing that magic drop. And now we see Void going into the same room. Really still so close, but we're worried about Void. I might have switched to the Fire Rod there in this position because they were right down there together. And he's not dealing with this well. Such low hearts. Still needs to take out the end of this.
Yeah. He got an unfavorable pattern for the Hokuboku. TGH got a better one. But yeah, just was not able to try and get the double that he was hoping for. It took more damage. Now, you can get through. Like there's no guarantee that you'll take damage besides this room that TGH is in, but it doesn't set a good precedent. It's very scary. Anything can and will kill you. And of course, yeah, just you can definitely tell they're feeling the pressure.
I feel that I have been so stressed out ever since they both started taking damage at the beginning of Mire. Just the past 10 minutes of this run, both of them have been in situation after situation. They've both stayed alive. They've both dealt with them well. But definitely a very stressful ending. It's so close. Void cannot get hit by anything anymore.
No, not at all. It's this is basically everything. If you can get through here, there's still a race left, but everything will come down to this laser bridge and the rest of Turok here. Just in terms of like health situation and risk potential.
Now, I do want to say good job on that laser skip for Void. Also, good job TGH killing that mini Helma to be able to do what Void is about to do.
Yeah, the mini Helma, he's a good football player. Take those hits, get in your way. TGH taking a hit there, but still very healthy.
Yeah, I think TGH might have thought that head was dead, and he had to hit it with an extra fire rod shot and then an extra sword shot.
Yeah. And Void going for backdoor here. No pause buffer. It's yeah, definitely scary, but doing good so far. Usually when you get these two hits, it's not too bad.
We did see Void die on Trinex in a run earlier today. So just, you know, it's that world record holder mentality. You just go back at it. You know your strats. You don't get afraid because of what happened earlier. Beautiful fight from Void. Have to say a better fight than TGH had, but certainly still behind here.
Yeah, it was really scary too because obviously you set up so that you get the double spin on Trinex, but you know, sometimes when you're doing a run, you just don't realize that you didn't get the double, and you're like, okay, you know, slash ahead, and then all of a sudden, Trinex isn't dead. So very good that he had the awareness, and you know, again, not to be deterred, was willing to do the slash there, knowing that yes, Trinex will die here. So slightly better fight, but of course now gets some breathing room. He's still behind, but obviously a death in Turok is insane. But TGH will be first heading to Gan Tower here, so we will get to see when they enter the tower here in terms of time. And of course, if they choose to cancel their animation, Lionel getting TGH there.
Yeah, the stress continues. Already down 2 hearts. We will stay stretched for another 10 minutes here, I believe.
Yeah, he cancels his dash. That's to avoid leg frames. You need to be 1 pixel away from the tower. It looks like he got that. Can be a little bit hard to tell, obviously, but you know, being aware of it, showing the knowledge, and we'll just assume he got it. But yeah, here is all, and of course for Void 2. But all executional gauntlet here. The tower is very fun, very punishing. But every room is very unique, so it's definitely, from a runner perspective, a fun thing to go through, but still lots of potential here as well. And TGH not going for the quick hook shot there, which makes sense.
Yeah, well,
just strategies.
I don't know what to say about this early G Tower stuff. Every room there's a strat, you know, every room you have to do something. There's almost no rooms that you just dash through. There's almost no rooms that don't have multiple strats for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Void kind of had a little bit of a inner like dichotomy between going for the quick hook shot and the non-quick hook shot. Kind of hesitated, but then went for it, hit the spike trap, but just more minimal stuff. Went for the fire snakes. That room is very hard to do very quickly. But in terms of arrow count, Void at 10 arrows, TGH now at 22, so he will have all the arrows he needs for Armas. You can pick up this 10 arrows here before, if you want to go into the fight, but most runners will get the 10 arrows after, just because you're not necessarily getting the same arrow count going into the fight anyway.
We'll see what Void does. TGH using the bottom right strat, that most he's using the slow bottom, the kind of safe bottom right strat. 4 up, 2 left, 2 up, then 10 left.
Yeah, and Void going for this 5 here. Obviously could go for the 10, but it's a little bit trickier. Goes for the safe 5, so he will be picking up the arrows after the GT big key. So TGH going out the tower, 119.48. Ooh, Void taking. Oh no, yeah.
Oh, this is not good. This is not good for Void. He's got a slash.
No,
Slash like your life depends on it. He's not even getting these slashes. Oh, he's gonna have bad. Oh, you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
This is the moment. This feels like this is the final demoralizing moment. He's hung on so well, Void has. He's playing against such a good player. So many things have gone right, so many things have gone wrong. But this feels like the moment where he just said, I've done all I can, and, you know, not doing that 1 slash. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we'll have to see what happens in the rest of this run. But this is where I'm saying Void is not happy at the moment.
No, definitely not. So obviously that situation not going very well is explicitly not good, but it also implies that the Ganon fight will not go as good either. The arc variable for the Firebats is basically kind of set during the Ice Armos fights. So if you do your Ice Armos, you know, very quickly, you'll pretty much get, you know, a very similar RNG in Ganon. So basically, Ganon will be a little bit more off script here because he would have taken too long in that room, I'm sure.
And we saw a very, very unfortunate Mimics 2 for Void there, running out of arrows and just taking forever and hitting them far to the side. Meanwhile, TGH is very quickly making his way through Gauntlet. Very good 0 cycle here. Void getting knocked off of these cannonballs.
Yeah, you can tell a little bit of his spirits kind of shook here. Just take another hit. This Gauntlet here is scary.
And this is exactly, we remember this is what TGH was practicing before the race. His Gauntlet went well. His Ganon's Tower is going great. This would have been the area that, you know, we were almost hoping for. We were almost hoping maybe something will happen here. TGH will falter and Void will be able to shine through. But really, TGH has just solidified here, and there's not much game left.
Yeah.
TGH just flying through the remainder of this NMG race.
Yeah, and of course Void knows what he's up against, so to even pick up the arrows, to make it through the Gauntlet, like make it through, which is the important thing. But yeah, it's just do or die, and when you stretch yourself too thin, it can be, you know, it can really play into the situation. It can make things that maybe wouldn't be as bad worse, and just taking the fireball hit there, yeah, definitely, it's you know, very demoralizing situation, unfortunately, especially for such a strong run.
Yeah, a run that was so close to PB the entire way through. I know Void was thinking not just about the tournament situation, but about PB. TGH going for the hover here. We have seen Void getting the 3 cycle on the land modes, getting a 2 cycle on those whiz robes. I really feel for Void here.
I mean, when you look at it, the run's not over, obviously. Like, even up to Ganon, things can go wrong. You can miss Torch Glitch or, you know, just whichever. Obviously, seasoned runners, but anomalies do happen. You know, everyone is human. So, very demoralizing situation, but Void needs to still keep his head in the game. You know, needs to not quit until it's over. TDH and Agatu, sizable lead, but it's not the win.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the real things that make me think Void is really out of it, it's not the mistakes, it's the taking that hit.
Yeah,
you know, not doing that slash.
The way he moves, yeah. But even TGH took 2 hits in the Agatu here. You never know. You can never know.
Here. Yeah, I mean, obviously anything can happen. We've seen anything from anybody in this tournament already. And that's why I'm hoping that Void will not be completely demoralized and will finish out this Ganon's Tower at least. He only has the two hearts, and I'm just hoping that we could see a really bad situation here. And no, he gets through Moldum too. And TGH going on to Ganon, obviously.
Yeah. Like, obviously, just given how things are kind of going here, like, obviously, TGH very favored, but yeah, just, you know, gotta keep going. And going on to TGH, 7 heart Ganon, pretty healthy Ganon, you can take a hit. You don't want to, but, you know. Oh, and he does, too.
Does take a hit, down to 3, can't take another.
No, cannot take another. Oh, and Void takes a hit too. If he,
Void is now the
you
one
do
I'm
not
worried
want
about.
to take a hit in this tower. Yeah.
Oh no.
I was gonna. I can't get the words out, but like obviously the blue balls shoot in a they shoot in a specific manner. And he recognized that, but hugged to the left and then tried to get through. It was not fast enough. That was the main threat for him there. Death at the tower, it's like TGH could fall to Ganon and would still be able to take out this fight. So if TGH is watching, all he has to do is just take it, you know, slow and steady. So obviously very frustrating, I'm sure, for Void.
Void, really, we can't say enough good things about Void's run. It was really up and down. The 0 blue balls helped him, but he was putting together a PB pace run in a tournament race against an incredibly good player. And it's just so happy for Void that he has improved so much in this game. Such a good run. We do see TGH with a very solid, it's going to be about a 126.15. A very good run there. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to both of these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, even though it had a bit of an unfortunate end, it's still a wonderful race. Like, it was still a fantastic watch. And TGH will take first place with an SRTV time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 22 seconds. Void has forfeit, but we will inquire if they would like to have an interview. Obviously, a lot of emotion, but we'll have to see. But definitely send your love in chat. 2 great runners, you know. Tournament, one and done, just very stressful environment, and you know, it's just all the way, you know, even to GT, just holding it really well.
I mean, obviously, Void being on PB pace so far into that run was amazing for a tournament race. Let's not forget, TGH ended within a minute of its PB, and that's with 4 blue balls, which takes 30 seconds. So a really, really strong race from both of these players. It was so back and forth so much of the way through Light World and then up until Ice Palace, I think, with those 2 scary cold stares.
Yeah, just turning it around again from the Blue Ball RNG. We do have TGH in the waiting room, so we can pull him in. Still awaiting word from Void. He may choose to not interview, but hello TGH, GG's. That was quite the race.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. How do you? I mean, really good. What I think that's plus 50 seconds from your PB about.
Yeah, it's plus 40-ish.
Wow,
actually, no. Yeah, plus 40, plus 44. I'm right.
A sizable chunk from Blue Balls too. Although I'm not sure how many you had in your PB, but
yeah, my PB had 3.
Oh, okay, so
okay.
one extra.
So not a big loss there. How were you feeling? So that's a place to start. Obviously, Escape and Eastern were incredibly good for you, and you had built up a sizable lead. Maybe lost a little in Landmo, but what were you feeling when you got into Dark World, and you went from about 15 or 20 seconds up to about 15 or 20 seconds behind?
It was just a rush. It was just a rush, like most of the race. You know, I knew where I stood the whole time. I had the restream up and I was watching it. But yeah. It was really, really a good race, and GG's to Void as well. I'm not sure if he's gonna come in for an interview, but if he doesn't, then GG if you're listening. But yeah. I don't know, it's just in a situation like that where like when RNG kind of hands you a bad hand, so to speak. You know, in a race setting like this, you just got to keep going. You know, like it's easy to dwell on that kind of stuff, that kind of thing, but it's you know, it's I managed to pull through it okay and handle it well.
Yeah, no, most certainly. We kind of mentioned that during the race too. It's kind of like the more you want something, the less you're probably going to get it. And if you just kind of trust yourself, trust your hands, and go with the flow, things will go good. And then, of course, you know, if you do let those little things get you, it won't make it better. It'll just make it worse. You kind of have to let go and understand that those things happen. And you know, obviously with the finish time, that was certainly very good. And so, you know, that was kind of a question. You know, you wonder if the runners are watching each other. And so you do. So I think it would go without saying that you probably know what happened to Void.
Yeah, I saw he. Well, I didn't see, but I looked over and saw the game over screen that he died at Aga 2.
Yeah, he kept pace with you obviously pretty well through the whole run. You two even trading, you know, spots back and forth. Just a very close race. But it seemed like it started to. You both kind of had trouble in Torok, and it kind of seemed like it was almost a little bit at the beginning of the end. The death warp actually not costing you too much given the situation, so that was very good to just accept. But Void taking some hits, and then he did make it through Torok, which is really nice, but a little bits of time loss, and then I guess just, you know, GT kind of getting to him, and, you know, unfortunately just you know, getting to Aga 2 and the impossible fight, Aga 2, blue ball, just getting in the way. But
yeah, game does that for sure.
Yeah.
No matter how experienced you are, it's always that can always happen. That's the thing about this game.
Yeah, it's very punishing.
What were the stressful moments of this run for you? Obviously, Cold Stare for both of you guys kind of got away, but you both played it really safe. Were there moments where you were worried? Because it looked like, you know, you took the Sankart, and you weren't really dropping that much health in most dungeons. So, I mean, were you pretty calm throughout the race, even given that it was so close, or how were you feeling through that?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty confident. Like, I'm generally like you know, I'm generally like pretty consistent, I feel. But Sankart is just one of those things that like 99% of the time I get, and if I don't get it, I usually regret it later. But yeah, I think like until I'll probably pick up Sankart until I have like a low 124 or something if I ever get that far. But yeah, it's I don't know. In the case of Cold Stare, I just got hit by the ice block. I like slightly mispositioned myself, and got hit by the ice block. And luckily, the fight like went. You know, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. It could have been a lot worse, but they all went in one direction, which is okay.
Yeah, definitely.
What else? Vitreous is always tense. With the strat I use an arrowless strat designed for a zero cycle, which is kind of tense pretty much always. Missing
that
the first
fourth spin was really good.
Oh yeah. It's I'm okay at the strat, but it's always a situation where an eye can just come out of seemingly nowhere and just body you. So I'm always nervous about that. Like if an eye comes from the right edge just straight down, there's almost nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, definitely can be a little chaotic in that regard, or rather tense, I suppose.
I was hoping to talk about, I mean, Void has to feel good about this run. Really, it was such an enjoyable race, such a close, I mean, you guys both played incredibly well. Let me ask, I can't think of anything else, because it was really a very clean run from you. I want to ask about your next round. I think you're going to have Dark Mind Demon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a race. I'm going to need to sharpen up a bit if I want to keep pace with DMD.
It'll be very exciting, and I did kind of remember what I wanted to mention, but yeah, on the Sankart, I mean, for the 3 seconds or whatever that you go to get it, I mean, you know how technical the game is. It's like you could save those 3 seconds or easily lose them in a lot of ways. So, I mean, honestly, I don't, like, even holding it, like you said, to like 124 or so, like, you really have to be scraping at the bottom barrel, I think, when you get to that point.
Yeah, for sure. It's a 3-second loss that could potentially save you minutes upon minutes if like, for instance, you know, like Hera, like Tower of Hera is always like Hera and Pod are basically 2 of the only reasons I even pick up Sankart.
Yeah.
just because like those are the two, like Helma, especially Helma. Like if you get a bunch of fireballs on Helma and don't handle it exactly correctly, next thing you know, you're one hit from death. Hera is the same way. Rocks can pummel you. Moldorm can be stupid, and just a bunch of things can go wrong on both of those splits. So it's I think it's just really smart strategically to take that part, especially in a race setting for even though it loses those 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, like and of course tournament a little bit different than PBs, so obviously go for the extra safety, and even think like if you take a hit in Octrock Overworld or something going to Eastern, then maybe you're not grabbing the extra heart or whichever along the way. And then of course mental, the extra heart helps you be a little bit more brave, because of course when you have something to lose, that's what you fear most. You're strongest when you have nothing to fear. So that extra heart, just the mental alone could be really huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dark Mind Demon, that should be really fun. Yeah, tournament really winding down here, but no, I'm personally really excited to watch that one.
Yeah, down to the last 8, I believe there's nobody left even who has a 126. I think everybody left has a 125 PB or better, and that's just so. I mean, it's so incredible. When I started watching this game, 5.5 years ago, only one player even had a 126. Barely anybody had a sub 130. The skill levels in this game have gotten so ridiculous, and this tournament has been so. If you like your execution, this tournament has been amazing to watch, and these incredibly close races like today. Yeah, it's been very exciting.
Yeah, tons of incredible runners, tons of incredible races coming up. But Mr. TGH, was there anything else you'd have to say for parting words, I suppose?
I don't think so, other than a great race to Void. Again, that was a big rush. It was a lot of fun. Thanks very much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope Void is watching. Incredible race, just so much fun to watch, and we were really pulling for that PB, and we know 125 is just around the corner for you if you keep going with this game, which obviously you're so incredible at so many games, so we hope you stick around for just a little while longer.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Great race to watch. So I guess we'll close up here. Just want to say, thank you to everyone who watched, and of course for the runners running, and let's commentate the race and just everything that kind of goes into the machine to keep everything going. And thank you to my co-commentator. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, Giselle. I would love to commentate with you again sometime. A lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. It was super good. For all those people that are fans of Speed Gaming, I do believe Randomizer is coming up, but in an hour on this channel. And of course, don't be shy to check the schedule for all the other events going on. I know there is Rando going on other channels, and I don't think there's anything else tonight. Hat and time ended, so yeah, no, just Rando. But thank you to everyone, and for my part, I've been Gazelle Chef. So thank you. Bye.
And thank you guys for commentating as well. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
No problem.
Thanks everybody for watching, and have a great night.